And yes, can we save everybody? No, but hey, can we be human enough to serve the person right next to us? It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be a gala. It doesn't have to be raising multi-million dollars. You just change the day and the trajectory of that family's life with something very simple.
All right. Hello, Joey. Are you excited for Palm Beach news today?
Dan, I'm delighted to hear a little bit about what's going on in Palm Beach. I hope it has to do with alligators.
There's always something going on, and most of the time, some of the time, it has to do with alligators. So let's bring Kelly out for Kelly's Corner, Palm Beach news.
Kelly's here. Grab your shades. It's a wild, weird Florida day.
Dear friend.
Kelly's Corner.
Kelly's Corner.
All right. Good morning from West Palm Beach, or Palm Beach West, as they're trying to make it work. All right. So I'm just going to do my favorite local news app, WPTV5. It's a very good local news app. And we're just going to see what's going on. I actually will tell you what the biggest thing is. You guys, forecast. Could we see the coldest temps in 16 years? This is big news, actually. South Florida is in the grip of an unusually cold stretch, which is expected to get even colder this weekend. A freeze warning, you guys. Frost advisory, cold weather advisory. Lows will range from the low 30s to the mid to upper 40s.
I need you to shut up right now. It's minus
I know,
4
you guys don't
degrees
care.
outside
Yeah.
in New York City. I need you to
Wait,
shut
so-
up.
I mean, they're opening all the cold weather shelters because the wind chill might be in the 20s, which is a big deal
That's
in
what I
South
heard.
Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking falling not alligators, not falling alligators, falling iguanas. Alligators,
Iguanas.
if they were
Alright.
up in the trees, they would fall.
The homeless are not going to love it. It's going to be bad for them. They're used to such nice weather.
I know, it'd be kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Oh no, travel nightmare. Family back home after a plane. North Palm Beach family finally home after pipe bursts on them shortly before. Let's see. They left them stranded in the Northeast for an extra 2.5 days when a pipe burst on their American Airlines flight. Jay Humans and his family were stuck at the Bradley International Airport in Hartford, Connecticut. I think that's somewhere that you went to. After water came rushing
yeah.
down the aisle of their plane due to a burst pipe, the incident, combined with snowy weather conditions, extended their trip for longer than expected. For me, I feel great that we're home. Obviously, it was a long 2.5 days. Could you believe what you were seeing in the moment? No, I couldn't. I couldn't believe it. I mean, okay. And then they want to talk about travel insurance. I don't know about travel insurance.
Just to be clear, they're reporting on this family's little misadventure that
This
they had.
one family that was
One family.
inconvenienced.
Who was
Which-
in the East for 2.5 days
It
longer.
sucks.
But not just because of the pipe, I would assume. I would assume it was pipe
Amazing.
plus weather conditions. All right, let's see. There's another weather one. Warming centers open in Palm Beach County. Let's see. Florida freeze. What's the coldest temp ever recorded in our area? This is all of this stuff. Let's see. The coldest air since 2010. That's a big deal. 16, an Arctic air mass. The records for early February will likely be broken with near freezing to sub-freezing temperatures. Actually, my mom has a story about how one time she traveled to Florida and she expected Florida weather and didn't bring any coats, and it was in the 30s and she was really, really cold. So which would happen? Let me see. There's not tons. Let's see.
At what point do the iguanas actually die if it actually gets that cold? Because they do
That's
fall
a
out
good
of the
question. I mean,
trees.
I don't know. It's cool. They're
Do they ever come
cold-blooded
back?
animals, so
Like if it gets into the wind chill 20s, I guess they probably hunker down like up against buildings and stuff where it's probably not that cold.
well, not if they're. I mean, if it happens slowly, they're just wherever they are. And then let's see. Okay, there's
All
not
of a
tons
sudden.
here. Let's see. There's an apartment fire in Pahokee, but 28 people, including 17 children, were displaced. That's a bummer.
That's sad.
Yeah. A lot of this is actual news, and that's not as much fun because, you can go elsewhere for your actual news. Okay, this is a big deal. Why pickleball players say they're being priced out. Pickleball players say they're being priced out as Palm Beach Gardens fees tripled to 50 guys. They're $15 now. Local courts in Palm Beach Gardens after fees increase. Tuesday was a busy afternoon at the North Palm Beach Community Center. All 3 indoor pickleball courts were being used, and another dozen or so players were waiting to get in. Still, it's not as bad as last week when 58 people had signed up.
Do you know
Wow.
pickleball has become a really controversial topic around the United States?
Has it? I didn't know
It
that.
really has, because apparently it's quite loud. And so when they have converted tennis courts into pickleball courts, communities are like, it's too loud. It's too obnoxious. I don't
Wait,
play
is
it. I don't know. I've never
Is
seen
it
it.
the
I don't know.
people that are loud, or is it the balls hitting the
I
big
think it's
ping pong
always balls. Balls are always.
balls are always
you-
loud? You know, well, I mean, it could be worse. I mean, the pickleball, I mean, for these poor people, the fees were raised from $5 to $15.
That's probably why.
That's probably, maybe they were
And
yelling
that's
a little bit.
that's in Palm Beach Gardens.
That's Palm Beach Gardens. Being priced out of a fun recreation opportunities, a lot of people are.
Excellent writing.
North Palm Beach has a little bit of a Yoda thing going.
Yoda.
All right, I'll do one more, and then let's see if there's anything interesting. That was a good one. This is all real stuff. This is not as much fun. We don't want real stuff. We can get that somewhere else.
No.
I know.
I want the magical fairyland of West Palm.
Oh, okay. This is horrible, but I'm going to read it anyway as
Oh,
the last one,
God.
just because there's nothing else going on. Elderly woman hit by a garbage truck.
Kelly.
Oh no.
So I know she was critically
Kelly.
injured after getting hit by a garbage truck again in Palm Beach Gardens. What's going on in Palm Beach Gardens?
Palm Beach Gardens.
Let's
that's-
see. They don't say what was happening. They're investigating it. They don't know how she got hit by a garbage truck, but apparently
right.
she did. So
I'm not amused by Palm Beach right now.
Palm Beach
Is there-
Gardens, if you're up there, be careful because you can't play pickleball and you can't go don't go anywhere near those garbage trucks because quite frankly,
Here's a little thing about Palm Beach Gardens, though.
tell me.
It shares the name Palm Beach, but it's like the most not Palm Beach of all the Palm Beach names because it's like the farthest away. It's just kind of trying to it's a giant suburb of apparently pickleball and garbage trucks and
And that's really that would
various
make sense. I mean,
activities.
that's a garbage trucks running over old ladies. So do be
Gills,
careful.
thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm always happy to help.
I adore you.
It's a grab bag. All right. Bye-bye, you guys.
Bye
Bye, love.
I'm going to hang out here till I get removed.
All right.
Well, I guess that's the news. It's mostly weather related as it is all around the country. So I should
Why
get a
don't
little
you-
piece of paper, right? Isn't
Why
that
don't you,
supposed
why
to
don't
do?
you start us out, Dan? Why don't you start us
Okay.
out today?
Right. So we have a special guest today. Special, and I mean that in not the sense that he has any kind of special needs or anything like that, or maybe he does. We'll find out, I guess. But we have Armando, a good friend, a fellow podcaster, and a really cool guy. So let's bring him out here and get him up
Oh,
on
wait,
the screen.
first, Dan, could
Wait,
you
first?
satisfy my curiosity? Just tell me the first 5 things that come up on your social media.
Yeah. On Instagram
Whatever.
or YouTube?
I'm using Instagram, but I would like to know the first. Give me the first 5, and be honest.
On Instagram. Be honest. Is that what you said?
I want you to be honest. You can skip whatever's an
Okay.
ad, like whatever
Can I
advertisement.
should I show it to you?
You
'Cause
don't.
it's
You don't
funny.
need to show. You don't need to show it. I'm not going to show mine. I'll be honest, but go
Okay,
ahead.
so one is a OnlyFans girl who's for some reason frying a hair tie
Fantastic.
and then for some reason sitting on like a frying pan. I don't understand the joke of that one.
Sure.
Then I have a guy who's the official stretch master who's doing stretching on girls. Yeah, it's a little suspect, but he's legit supposedly. He actually has a license number and everything on his thing. Figured out a way to.
Yeah,
drive
I've got a
traffic, I
license
guess.
number for you right here.
That's true. I guess I don't have a way of checking the number. I guess it could be just
All right, 3 more.
stuff. I have this other lady who does this dance and she talks about politics while moving like this and doing
Uh-huh.
crazy things.
Like a somatic.
So
She's trying to get it all out, trying to get out her.
yeah, she's getting which again, you got to have a shtick. And the other one is an AI channel that just does weird videos.
All right, one
void
more.
stuff.
One more.
Last one in order is what is this? I don't even know what this is. Street interview spirals when a man asking for advice about immigration. I
Love
don't
it.
know what that-
Okay.
I'd have to go into it to find out where that is, but that's what it's talking about.
All right. Mine right now, I'm seeing something about it's a woman talking to herself about what do you do when you like a guy?
Ooh, could be helpful.
Here's one about writing your story.
Mhm.
Here's a little skit about the Sharks and the Jets, which were the fictional rival gangs in
Yeah.
West
West
Side
Side
Story.
Story.
So it's a theater thing, another
Yeah.
ghostwriting thing, and a workout thing. I'm surprised no
Oh,
politics came up. I'm really actually thankful no politics came up.
yeah.
So
That's pretty
I'm
good.
apparently into writing and kind of working out, but I'm not actually doing any of that. I'm doing a
So
little of the writing, but I'm not doing any of the working out.
it's like inspirational. Like you're like it's reminding you, like,
It's
hey,
reminding me it's in the background. It's in the background.
yeah, maybe you want to do something
You know,
like this.
speaking of inspiration, let's bring out Armando Cruz.
Okay, let's bring out Armando now. We'll all be inspired.
Hi, Armando.
Hey
Thank
guys,
you
how
for
are you?
joining us today. So let me just
Oh, it's my pleasure.
give a little bit of backstory here. Armando Cruz is the owner of Cruz Country Fitness and Physical Therapy, which is located in Miami, Florida. He's the founder of the Rich Man Experience, founder of the Modern Man Virtual Summit. He is the host of his own podcast. It's a great podcast called Against the Herd. And he is the best-selling author of The Legacy Code, Modern Man's Guide to Escape Obscurity and Live a Life Unleashed. So,
There you go.
not much. It's not accomplishing much. Thank you for joining us today. It's so lovely to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you as well. And I did enjoy getting to hear what's on your Instagram feed.
Even though I'm not doing
Yeah.
anything about the workout yet.
Did you? What's like on yours, Armando? What kind of stuff pops up on your Instagram? What are you looking at? What do you look at?
I get a lot of stuff for running because I run a lot, so a lot of track and field stuff, jujitsu stuff, and then I get a lot of family and friends that are posting stuff, all sorts of stuff, but just family and friend photos.
What kind of running are you doing right now? I'm actually in the middle of being really good. I've run every day for like the last week, which I was kind of out of it for a while. So what
Excellent.
do you do?
Well, right now I am trying to see if I can beat my 11-year-old. We're on a race to see who can break the 5-minute mile first. Him for the first time or me for the first time in 15 years. So one or the other. Who's gonna win? The odds are in his favor right now, but like
Yeah.
I told him, I said, listen, you guys have everything going for you, and the likelihood of me catching you is very little. But know that I am fighting hard. So if you slip up a little bit, know that I'm gonna be chomping out there. So don't slack off.
Yeah.
All
It's
three of you are
it's funny how
crazy people.
it's funny how that is. Winston has been running a lot, and it's just like a day ago or so, he was like, I'm going to try to get myself under a 7-minute mile or about a 7-minute mile, whatever it was. And he just like threw that out to me and like, I'm going to do that. And then like 3 days later, he did 4 miles and they were all like at 7 or under minute
Wow,
miles or
that's
whatever.
fantastic.
He's just like, oh yeah, look, I did it. And he's like showing me on his watch. I'm like, and I'm like, I'm struggling I'm doing a 5K in just under 30 minutes still, like, right. So like
Okay. Okay. That's good. How old is Winston?
14.
14. Okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
and he's tall. I mean, he's almost as tall as I am. So, like, I mean, so he's basically as tall as I am with probably like 60 pounds less. So that helps,
All
right?
right. The weight does make a difference.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, what do you have that you're? Tell us about what you're excited business wise, or what you've got going on from an entrepreneurship perspective.
Yeah, it's funny because as an entrepreneur, there's always opportunities. Or let me rephrase that. If you're an entrepreneur, your lens tends to be one that opportunity seems to be everywhere. So
Right,
where people who are not entrepreneurs very often, it's like that's not the lens in which they view the world. And so
right.
what are the opportunities? They're, I think, limitless. Which one are the ones
Mhm.
that I'm choosing to focus on
Okay,
versus
right.
other ones that we're letting go? Right now, like you mentioned, that my wife and I have our own fitness and physical therapy studio. And it's been quite a journey over the past, at this point, 18 years, watching that kind of evolve. And we're at a stage right now where, or let me rephrase that. In the past, we tried to do a lot of things. We're in a stage now where we're hyper focusing more and making it. We realize that where our magic spot is in chronic pain. Like, we tend to be the people that when everything else has failed, they've seen the chiropractors, doctors, acupuncturists, had surgery, and they still have back pain. Or, we've created a system that allows us to play around and actually get people results when other things have failed. So
Armando, it
that's
seems
been
that
a lot of fun.
in your practice, it seems that you focus also on the emotional aspect of pain as well as the physical aspect. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Pain. Let's start with the first part, which is pain is not a punishment. Pain is a communication. And so your body can't speak to you the way you and I are speaking right now, but the way it communicates with you is through pain. And so when it doesn't feel safe, when it doesn't feel certain, or when things are moving too quick for it to adapt, all of a sudden pain, discomfort, and dis-ease become a part of the conversation. And so one of those things is the emotional part. The emotions create a level of weight, let's call it, that weigh you down. It brings a level of unsafe to the brain because of, like, look, here's an example I like to give. If you've ever had a vivid nightmare, you wake up drenched in sweat, your heart is racing, you haven't gone anywhere, but your body doesn't know the difference. And so the same way that, you're caring for your ailing parents, maybe you're struggling with your relationship with your spouse at home, all of that stuff starts weighing you down. The brain now starts getting backlogged with all this emotional baggage. And now it doesn't have a clear signal on how it should move, what is safe, what is not, what is clear, what is not. And so part of our work is how do we peel back the layers so that we free up and create more clarity for both the brain and the nervous system to give you access to it.
I think that's a
How often-
fascinating aspect of your practice. I've seen so many physical therapists. I'm an ex-dancer and have had lots of injuries, and I've never had anybody work on the mental and emotional aspect of an injury as well. I think that's a very
Yeah.
special thing about your practice.
How often do you find that like chronic issues relating can be solved through a more holistic approach like that, and then how much at the time those solutions are more emotion based or versus just like, hey, there's a major physical issue.
I would say the majority of the people that I see have already exhausted a lot of the physical stuff, right? They've seen doctors, they've seen chiropractors. And the problem is that most people treat the human body like if it was a car, like it's a mechanical creature. So we're switching out parts, and that's the gist of it. And the truth is we're not. We are emotional beings. We operate on many different levels. And, my wife and I created like a hierarchy of six components that when they're off, throw you off. So you have your oxygenation, the way you breathe, the way your body absorbs oxygen, hydration, right? Making sure you're hydrated, nutrition, have activation. So it's how you move and how safe your body is when it moves, relaxation, which is now how do you recover? How do you decompress? And then the last one is emotion. So it's oxygenation, hydration, nutrition, activation, relaxation, and then finally emotion. If those are off, any one of those are off, you can start creating chronic pain. Most people have more than one of those that are off. My job is to become the detective and figure out what it is, and then how do we feed the brain what it needs so that it feels safer, and now it lets go.
How do you do that detective work? What does that process look like?
Oh, first thing we do is we do an assessment, right? Like people often tell me, it's like the number one party trick. Oh, they find out you're a physical therapist. Hey, but I have this here. And I'm like, look, I'd be happy to give you some ideas, but it would be negligent for me to not go through the full thing. And plus, you're not going to get the full experience. So do you want this resolved, or do you just want to have something to talk about right now? And most people are like, no, I want to get this resolved. I said, okay, let's actually set up an appointment so we can do an in-depth assessment. And when we go through this assessment, we're going from a full nervous system breakdown through the emotions, I mean, the questions that I ask people are like, wow, nobody's ever asked me that. Nobody's ever done this before. This is weirdly satisfying in the sense of like, I feel like we've tapped into areas I've never even heard of. And yet all of a sudden, somebody who's been having pain for years, they've seen all these doctors, chiropractors, and they come in, and after 2 sessions, all of a sudden they can move. I mean, I'll give you an example. There was a young lady that came in. She had gone to the emergency room the night before because she was keeled over in back pain. This was she was a senior in high school, and she's a volleyball player. And the next day, somebody who knew me referred, and they're like, hey, can we see you tomorrow? And I'm like, look, the only time I have is 5 a.m. They're like, we'll be there. And the poor girl came in, like, she was bent 90 degrees. She couldn't even stand up.
Wow.
We did an assessment on her, and after taking her through like a decompression processing that we do from nervous system, it took 5 minutes, that decompression process. She stood up straight with her eyes wide open. And then I said, okay, try to touch your toes now. And she went down, she touched her toes. And she's looking at me like really scared at this point. She goes, are you some kind of like witch? Those were her words. And I'm like, no, I promise I'm not a witch. This is just feeding your brain and your nervous system what it needs. That same day, she went and she played a volleyball game. So that's not everybody.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is that when you tap into what, Dan, you know, like you're like one of the things that I always admire about you from the first day I saw you is your ability to peek out. Hey, what's not being said or what's not being seen here that we need to address, right? And that's really what this is about. It's how do you see what's behind the veil that everyone keeps skipping because they're so distracted. Hey, my shoulder hurts. So what's the natural thing? Everybody's going to look at your shoulder. They're not going to look at your big toe because that doesn't even seem like it they're connected. I bring that up specifically because I had a baseball player who was having shoulder problems, and he was a pitcher. And I bring up the toe because nobody looked at his toe, and all of a sudden I do a history and we start talking. In the middle of the night, maybe like 3 weeks prior, he stubbed his toe. When we look at it, the toe is now not moving properly. So what happens now? He's stepping when he's going to pitch, and it throws off his whole mechanics, and now it's putting stress on his shoulder. Everybody's been training his shoulder, and his shoulder's not getting better. All of a sudden, we fix his toe, and his shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. And he's like, this is insane.
Yeah, that's interesting. That makes me think of the kind of the idea of like root causes, right? Of anything, of any system, whether it's a mechanical, like a physiological mechanical system, or it's a business, or it's a society, or it's a whatever. It's like, what is the root cause of this? Like, what's really going on here? And then get laser focused on that thing that's really causing the issue as opposed to just the symptom itself, which obviously, like our medical system in general, has a tendency to treat symptoms more than root causes, partially because I think treating symptoms is, more profitable because you could just kind of keep treating the symptoms instead of actually trying to solve the problem. So that's cool. You mentioned your wife. You guys have been working together on this for how long? Has this been, you've been together the entire time on this project?
Yeah, I started the company in 2005. Actually, Alex Pardo, right?
Sure.
So Alex and I, a good friend of mine, we were classmates from kindergarten all the way through college.
Oh, really?
And in college, we went different paths as far as what we studied. But I remember I was doing a rotation up in Orlando And he called me and he's like, hey, I just started a company. And I'm like, what do you mean you started a company? Because in my mind, there was nobody in my life that really was an entrepreneur from that perspective. So like the idea of a company was so far out there. I'm like, what did you mean? You bought a business, and he's like, no, I started an LLC and a real estate company. And I'm like, it's not hard. And I joke with him. I said, that night, I was like, well, if Alex could do it, I could start a business too,
Right.
and,
Right.
so he showed me how to start an LLC and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, all right, this seems good. So I picked our name and I set it up. That was in 2005. I got married in 2006. So,
Okay.
I started it before. And then, when I got married, my wife and I worked together.
That's great. And how has that been having your wife as a business partner this entire time? But Kelly and I at one point were business partners in that similar capacity, which I have my own story about that. But how has it been for you guys?
It was difficult at the beginning because we were expecting the other to do certain things that really wasn't in our wheelhouse. It wasn't until we realized what our strengths were and then
Yeah.
how do we serve it up so that it's helpful. I'm the creator. Give me the blank canvas. I'll start going. I love the new shiny thing. I don't like
Hmm.
managing. I don't like editing. My wife is
Hmm.
exact opposite. She loves editing, but don't give her a blank canvas because that is overwhelming and stressful. And so that
Yep.
went from everything in the business. Like whenever when we had to create something, it was like, all right, let me get going. Let me get the ball rolling. Let me put paint on the canvas, so to speak. And then I'd be like, okay, here, look at this. And then she goes, let's make it better by doing this, and this. When I wrote my book, she's like when I put the book together, she's like, all right, I know what you're trying to say, but what you think you're saying, you're not really saying. So let's, do this. She goes, we have to also put this in chronological order. We can't put this stuff the way your brain works, which is like in like mind map bubbles. That's how my
Right.
mind works, right? Hers is very sequential, which is very helpful. She's the systematizer. I'm not. I'm the creator. I see the big vision. I pop these things out. I'm also the one that's more empathic, so to speak. I lead very much by the way I feel. She's helped
Hmm.
me put those things in an order that I can explain, because before it was like, oh yeah, I do this and I feel this. And then she's like, yeah, but most people don't operate that way. So you have to
Right.
communicate it in a way that most people can follow. So
Yep.
we've now understanding what our strengths are. I'm like, she's the mastermind behind everything, in the sense that she helps me be able to communicate what I do in a way that people can understand, and it doesn't seem like, what the heck are you saying?
Yeah. You've heard the term visionary integrator relationship. Is it that sort of thing?
Yes. Yeah. I would definitely say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Armando,
Cool.
I'm fascinated with how people overcome imposter syndrome. Is this a term that you're familiar with? Just
Yes.
the idea
Impo-
that imposter syndrome, that you don't quite, some people don't understand it, but I think most people do. I'm curious about the rockier moments in business. As an entrepreneurial and creative, you know that things do not go smoothly all the time. How do you speak to yourself when there's a moment of, this isn't going very well, or this isn't going the way I planned, or I don't quite know how to help this client? How do you speak yourself through moments like that?
I'd say that I think the most important the most important thing I've realized that has helped me over the years is surround myself with the right people. So my wife, whenever I'm kind of stuck with somebody, like, I'll talk through it with her, and she's like, hey, have you thought about this?
Mhm.
Have you, and again, because she's so systematic, sometimes she literally goes through a checklist that in my mind is not always such a checklist. It's more of, I'm feeling the person at the moment. But sometimes just going through that checklist opens a new thought in my mind that now opens an entire pathway for her, right? In business, I've met with actually my friend Alex and another friend of ours for the past 12 years, every other week for the past 12 years without missing a day. Just we hop on a call, do a quick mastermind. Hey,
Great.
you know, where are you stuck in business? Where are you stuck in your marriage? Where are you stuck in and anything? And it's a way of, number one, getting something concrete out, verbalizing it. This is my problem, which again brings clarity, because sometimes if you don't even know what the problem is, you can't really fix it. So just by being able to communicate it helps. And then number two, having a group of trusted advisors, so to speak, that can at the very least listen, even if they don't necessarily have the answer at the moment. And other times is they do have a great perspective. Hey, have you
Right.
thought about this? Or here's what I'm hearing you saying. Is this what you're actually feeling, or is this what's actually happening? Right? So they're not afraid to push back on the stories that we tell ourselves sometimes, which, you know, when
Yeah.
you're in business, there's a lot that goes on in here, and it can get dark when things aren't moving the way you want. And so one thing that I think is important is having a group of people that can call you out and say, wait, is this actually happening? Or is this what you believe is like, is this the story you're telling yourself? And then
Right.
it's like, okay, well, what if we changed the story? And then, you know, look, for me, my faith is a big part of my life. So, you know, prayer is one, you know, going to mass, just spending time in silence. The classroom of silence, I think, is quite powerful sometimes. And just I don't need to do, I just need to listen and just be here for a bit, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've ever
Yeah.
heard a better answer to that question. Identify the
Okay,
problem, ask for perspective, sit in silence.
there you
Yeah.
go.
I mean, it's problem
Yeah.
solved. We've just solved imposter syndrome.
Joey, you know, something that jumps out at me on Armando's answer there is because I know a lot of folks in the kind of entrepreneurial business world who really take exactly that same kind of philosophy of like kind of mastermind and like being like, maybe I need to go to my peers to help me, you know, get some perspective and all that. We, s- that happens a lot, at least in our circle. I mean, there's probably other entrepreneurial folks that are not like that, but in our case, it is. In your world with creatives and artists and all that, do you find that there is some established system of peer support like that that people kind of do either formally or informally, or is this kind of like something that we've been doing that
It's
doesn't cross that
generally
direction?
super informal. I mean, there are some programs you can find that are formal class situations. I
Mhm.
find it's super informal. I have certainly also surrounded myself with like-minded people whom I find very intelligent and emotionally deep, who can do the same thing. Can say, okay, here's what I'm hearing you say, and let's remove emotion from it. Is that
Mm.
truth? And now
Mhm.
what can we do about it? That's all my friend group, though.
Yeah,
It is truly who you surround yourself with, I
you've built it.
believe.
Yeah, and you've
Right,
built that group. For
right.
sure, for sure. One of the things I find to be the most helpful for myself and what I've seen for other people as well is that like when things aren't going the way that you want, and you start to get those, you know, feelings of like inadequacy or like what's going to happen or all these kind of negative things, there's a certain point where you have to kind of like, at least I do, consciously have to just remind myself like, okay, those are just like feelings that are being like that are just popping in there,
Right.
like that does like the feeling doesn't necessarily mean reality. It's just the feeling. And so the more that you can kind of like take away the power of the kind of knee-jerk reaction emotion, then it gives you the opportunity to really be able to dig into whatever the issue is. Uh, or but like Armando, like you said, to just sit quietly with it and
Right,
be okay, and okay with it because maybe that's the only thing you can do at that particular moment, right? And like there's
right.
no reason to kind of coming full circle, there's no reason to like disable yourself mentally and physically because of this like weight hanging over you, you
I
know?
think a lot of people tend, certainly in my business, a lot of people tend to become very insular and sequester themselves because admitting I'm sad that I'm not booking anything. I'm sad that I haven't had any auditions. It feels a little bit like a weakness, I think.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
think it's quite important to be vocal about, hey, things aren't going great with me right now.
Yep.
Here's
yeah,
how I'm feeling, and to have the perspective of friends saying, okay, that's not you, that's the business That's not a failing on you. That is a failing of
Right.
the industry. But I do think a lot of people have trouble admitting weakness. It's not weak to not have the answer, but I think a lot of people have
Yeah.
been raised to feel that way.
Correct.
Can I
Right.
share something real quick that I'm
Please.
hearing you share that, and there are a few things that pop into my mind when I hear you sharing that. 'Cause, what I take it from, you said you were a dancer, so you're going
I'm
to
an, I'm an
auditions,
actress
right?
now. Yeah.
And okay. So if you're auditioning, one of the big issues with auditions is, unlike entrepreneurship where the market is the one that's gonna be the decider, here you're constantly being judged, and that judgment goes directly to your worth. And so if all of a sudden I'm competing with this next girl, do I really want her to know that I'm not feeling my ideal? So what it
Yeah.
seems to me, in what would be ideal, would be having a group of friends already before going in here, saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. How do we create momentum? Because one thing that I would say is a universal law is momentum creates more momentum. So whenever you're feeling stuck, the thing that is not going to get you unstuck is not doing. Very
Right.
often it's not doing. And, when I say sit in the classroom of silence, there's a point where silence is fine. But at the end of the day, you do have to take action. And so one of the things, and I'll give you this example. I moved recently my office. I used to be in a space all by myself, like completely. There was, unless you had an appointment with me, there was no traffic. There was nobody coming in. And I found a CrossFit gym that operates at a really high level. And I was like, man, I really love the energy in here. And this is my office that you're seeing right now. And people are like, oh, so you must get a lot of business from the CrossFit. And I'm like, you'd think so, but no, I don't actually get a lot of business from there. The business comes from the outside. But when I don't have business, the first thing I do is I walk outside where all the traffic is, and I ask myself, who can I add value to? Who can I help right now? Even if they're not
Right.
paying me. Why? Because what I found is that when you put momentum, when you set things in motion, other things happen. Like, I'm not doing that to get business from here, but for whatever reason, every time I do that, somebody calls me. Not related to
right.
this.
I love
and
that.
there's a gentleman, he was a football player, then speaker, then actor. His name is Bo Eason. You ever heard of Bo? Well, now he teaches people to speak and so forth. And he talked about when he went from the NFL to deciding that he wanted to be the best stage performer. He's like, well, I got to get on the best stage, as many stages as I can. And his first stage was at like some kid's, high school recital. And he invited all his like NFL buddies, and they're like, dude, this is what you're doing? You're like doing a play with like high schoolers? And they didn't get it at the time, but he got to a point where he was on so many stages that he was able to master it. And I remember, like, the question is, hey, if you didn't get this audition, how many more auditions can you practice on, can you do? And I remember one of the things for me was like, I want to continue to be a better communicator. I want to be able to present well on stage, but I have 3 kids. I have a wife. I have a business. I can't afford, nor do I want to be traveling all over the place to be on a stage every single day. But you know what I do have access to? Phone. And the phone became my stage. I have made a video every single day for the past 5 years without missing a day, just to practice. Sometimes they're videos that nobody sees. Sometimes they're a personal video to somebody. Sometimes they're a YouTube video. Sometimes they're a podcast video. But every single day for the last 5 years, I've made a video. And it's just that. It's how do we create momentum? What do you have control over? And how do we start creating that? Because repetition creates confidence. And confidence creates presence. And presence creates attraction.
I want that on a
Right.
t-shirt. That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That's
That's cool.
fantastic. Do you know, that reminds me a little bit of, so I know you're big on environment and getting out into nature, and that nature is very healing, nature as medicine. And I want to tell you a little experiment I've been doing in the new year. I decided, well, when I first moved to the city 20 years ago, I realized that I realized quickly there's a lot of creepy and aggressive energy in New York City, right? And I realized as a young woman, I needed to protect myself. And that became me becoming very insular. And, I walk with purpose. I have a steely demeanor. I have my earphones or my earbuds on, And I decided this year when I'm off the subway, I take out my earbuds and I'm listening to the sounds of the city. I'm looking people in the eye, men, women, children, smiling at people. I had one beautiful Scottish man ask for my number. He never called me, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm realizing is that I think people are not used to being seen. And when they are
Yeah.
recognized, when you actually look someone in the eye and smile, I noticed at first a moment of surprise and then a sort of melting. And so when I was listening to you in one of your podcasts speak about nature, and I was thinking, well, how does one who lives in a big city deal with something like that, who can't necessarily get to a tree or walk through grass on a daily basis? I can look people in the eye and recognize them as human beings. And I will never know how many times that has influenced someone's day, that made them smile at someone else. It's a ripple effect. That's how I am trying
That's
to
true.
contribute to healing in nature. And I got that from one of your podcasts. So I thank you for that.
That's
That's cool.
fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for sharing that. I will say, because you mentioned about being safe, one of the things that you can do that creates the most amount of safety is actually look people in the eye, because the second you look them in the eye, you've recognized them.
Yeah.
And a person trying to take advantage of you does not want to be recognized. They want to, they want to surprise you, so to speak. So the second that you acknowledge someone, now they know you have a picture of who they are, and
Yeah.
they're less likely to be a victim at that point. So
Right.
Thank you. I
unconsciously,
think
you're doing that.
that's an excellent point. I think the default when one is younger, and especially I can only speak from a female perspective, is to just be small, don't look people in the eye, just don't try not to make any noise at all. But as I've
Right.
grown into middle age, I feel that more inherently. I feel it more instinctively. Like, yeah, just look everyone in the eye. Claim your
Yeah.
ground. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think when people connect like that, they see each other as human beings and real people, and not just. It's like when people do road rage, right? They have road rage because they don't think of the person driving the car as a person. They just kind of think of the car. So it's much easier to get rageful in a car than it is in like two people face to face.
Yeah.
So I think that anytime you're connecting with people randomly, like at least I do anyway, I always get like this, even if I'm like kind of down or whatever on a particular day, if I have like a interaction at the grocery store with somebody who like this, I mean, this is actually a true story, just like not that long ago. Kelly and I were at the grocery store. It was just like a regular day. Like we're just doing whatever we were doing at the grocery store. And as we were checking out, there was like a family in front of us, and they were using their like EBT card or whatever it was. And we kind of couldn't really hear what was going on. They were like one right in front of us. We weren't really paying attention. And then it kind of looked like the kids were going to like pick up some of the food and like take it back to like the thing, like their card didn't have enough, whatever. And it was like $10 worth of stuff or whatever. So we were like, no, just put it with our stuff and then you can take it, whatever, protect. Like, so, but like for the rest of the day, you just feel so good about stuff like that, right? So like you could just, it wasn't like a big monumental thing. We didn't have to go to a gala. We didn't have to solve world hunger. We just saw people in our own community and we were able to do something in that exact moment. Like that's how you make connections and like build a better society, is by taking all those little opportunities to just connect with somebody, open the door, help somebody with a package through the door, whatever it is. Like just take that extra moment. That's what
That's
it is.
that's the story of the starfish. You ever heard the story of the starfish?
No.
No.
So there's a older gentleman. He's sitting on the shore break, and he's sitting on with his feet in the sand. And there are all these starfish that have washed up onto the shore, which invariably, if they stay like that, they're going to get baked by the sun and they're going to die. But he notices this boy that's walking down the shore, and he just is walking by, and he'll pick one up and he'll throw one in the ocean, and walks a little bit further and he gets another one. He throws it in the ocean. Finally, the boy meets up with to this older gentleman, and the guy's like, "Why are you doing that? Like, there's so many of these starfish. It's not going to make a difference." And then the boy looks and he sees one by his foot, and he grabs it and he throws it and he goes, "It made a difference in that one's life." Right? And yes, can we save everybody? No, but hey, can we be human enough to serve the person right next to us? It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be a gala. It doesn't have to be raising multi-million dollars. You just changed the day and the trajectory of that family's life with something very simple. And it's not because you needed the kudos, but it's more of, I was in a position to help. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
Right. You know what's interesting about that too, from like a math perspective, that the math version of that exact same story is, and I don't know if this is a true story, if this is just a metaphor, parable, but a teacher told like his entire class of 30 kids to write their name on a balloon. And then they threw the balloon into like a big pile of balloons, right? Like in the middle of the classroom. And then they said, "Okay, kids, everyone find your balloon," right? So then all the kids are running around, they're looking at the balloon and throwing that one, looking at the balloon, throwing that one, and they're just running all over the place. And like in a minute and a half, nobody found their balloon. So then he says, "Okay, everybody stop." And he says, "Okay, now everyone pick up a balloon, look at it, and then give it to the person whose name is on the balloon." And within like 3 or 4 seconds, problem solved, right? So when people start to think in terms of like helping others or serving others, they themselves get a positive result as well. So, and that's just, and that's math right there, right? Like that's like just math of it. So
I went down a thread just yesterday, and it was a woman talking about, she was behind a woman in line who kept giving her a lot of shit, was just kind of turning around and just very aggressive and very antagonistic. And this woman said, instead of giving it right back to her, I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And this woman just burst into tears and was like, "I'm sorry, I just put my mom into hospice." And then everybody had a story about, instead of giving shit right back to the person, I said, "Are you okay?" And everyone had a story about that person having a meltdown and being like, "I'm sorry, I'm in a bad place. I'm sorry." Which just goes to show you just don't know what people are going through. And the practice of compassion it's a practice. I don't have it every day. I don't want to give it every day, but it is a practice. And it's exponential when you give it out.
I'd say currently, in the way the society is, because of technology, it's diluted a lot of that realization, because it's so easy to dehumanize and to separate. I mean, the stuff that people say to each other online, that would never happen in person. I mean, it would happen once. It would happen once until somebody would, push you through a wall, and that was it. Look, my father always taught me, like, number one, you're never a bully. You stand up for what's right. You help people, right? And I would tell my kids the same thing. I said, look, I don't want anybody like bullying you. I definitely don't want to hear that you're doing that to anybody else. And that weird kid, be his friend, right? It doesn't mean that he's got to be your best friend, but you make sure that nobody's messing with him, right? And sure enough, there was my little one who's probably the most physical. It's like, he could kill you with hugs or he can chokehold you. One or the other, it's always up there. But he's violently affectionate. Maybe that's the best way to put it, right? But he was in summer camp, and there was a kid that was just antagonizing everybody and like I'm going to hit you. I'm going to do this. And this was one of those things. And my son, it was his first time there in that summer camp. And on one of them, the guy goes to push him, and my son got him, and he just like threw him over like a judo throw and slammed the kid. And the kid was like, and he started crying. The counselors while they couldn't, like they were like, oh my God, I've been wanting to do that to this kid for I don't know how many weeks already. Right. And then, like people were saying, like, look, is this not about, the idea wasn't about hurting him or anything like that, which the kid wasn't hurt. He was more scared than anything else. But to me, that interaction is probably going to save that kid a lifetime of real issues, because he's going to go through life if nobody checks him thinking that that's all right. All of a sudden, in this brief instant, he's like, oh, you know what? Maybe that's not a great idea. Let me not be a jerk.
Yeah.
And everything got saved. So, when people say, like nowadays, oh, you can't, this is violent, this is like, okay, wait, let's put things in perspective. Not everything is bullying. Not everything is violence. Sometimes kids need to work things out in whatever strategy that they have. And, you got to put it in context. But I think over parenting or over helicoptering kids need to be able to learn those skills on their own without an adult constantly being like, no, you have to do it like this. You have to do it like that.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of value there.
100%. That always annoyed me and Kelly a lot when Winston was younger, in particular groups, like particular cultures within different groups that we were in. Exactly what you're describing would happen. The kids were constantly being like micromanaged by the parents. So like if one kid just gets a little bit whatever, one way or the other, they don't get to figure it out themselves. The parent steps in, and then the parent steps in. And so it's yeah, you're right. Like, how does anyone learn how to like handle, conflict or negotiation or politics or anything if you're constantly appealing to a higher power that somehow is going to tell you what to do? Like it's you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a question. I think that you're an excellent person to talk with about this. I have some opinions about what is considered the male loneliness epidemic that they keep talking about. I'd love to know your thoughts on. I am trying to have more compassion about this, because I don't think younger men have been socialized like you're talking about. Younger men have not learned how to deal with conflict, how to express emotion. What would you advise a client who comes in and says, man, I'm lonely. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't have a lot of outlet. What would you advise someone at this point in their lives? Someone who's an adult, a young adult, who doesn't seem to have the network and doesn't seem to have the tools to resolve conflict within themselves. I'd love to hear your opinions, because I get real riled up with this situation. And like I said, I'm trying to have more compassion about it.
Just out of curiosity, what about that riles you up?
Because I am someone who has spent my lifetime fostering friendships. And I'm someone, I tell every single one of my friends I love them. I'm very physically affectionate with all of my friends. And perhaps I'm lucky. Perhaps I could examine the way I was raised, and perhaps that was I was lucky that I had affection in my childhood. Maybe that's it. I think I was actually a very reserved younger person, and taught myself how to be emotionally available and to ask for help and to tell my friends I love them. I think I fostered that in myself quite a bit. So it's hard for me sometimes when I see people struggling with it, unwilling to try something new. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. No, thank you for the clarity. You used the word examine, and I think that's step one. You have to do an examination of the self. What am I lacking? Right? So we can break it down so this isn't such an emotional thing. What's the skill gap that I have? Do I not know how to think through a problem? Do I not have friends? Okay, well, why don't I have friends? Well, number one, do I know how to speak to people? Do I add value to people's lives? Am I somebody worth having as a friend, right? If you become that person that is that good of a friend, you're going to have friends. You're going to have friends.
Right.
right? So this isn't something that is wrong with you, but it is something that you need to examine at this point. What am I doing with my life? Am I going to work and then locking myself in a house and, playing video games or watching porn all day? Like what friends are you going to gain there? What
Yeah.
value are you adding at this point? And so I think one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is, how can I be more valuable? How
Yeah.
can I be more valuable to other people? If you go with the attitude to serve, to give instead of to receive, I guarantee you what you'll receive will start getting amplified. But don't start with the, hey, how can I have more friends? Like, if everything is looking towards me, I think that's the problem. We are social creatures. We are mammals. We are not meant for isolation. We're meant for being in brotherhood, being in tribes. Most men don't have a single friend that they can call their best friend,
Right.
right? That's a problem.
I agree.
But at the same time, many of these men weren't raised by other men. They were raised by women. And so what happens is not necessarily that they become feminized, necessarily that they're like, flamboyant. But what I'm saying is that they start missing some of these components of what masculinity brings to balance out the equation. It's necessary.
Right.
It's necessary. My wife and I feel very fortunate that my wife doesn't understand the need for a lot of the stuff that I need to do and the way I do it with my boys specifically, but she can appreciate, like, oh no, this is a male thing that needs to happen in this way, that I wouldn't do it this way, which is what, part of our conversations is like, yes, you wouldn't do it that way because you're not male. And this is the way we resolve things. This is the way we interact with the world. This is the way we learn how to deal with things. And this isn't I'm not talking about excusing poor behavior or poor reactions. I'm talking about actually, how do you learn? And it's a much more physical thing. School is not designed for boys. School is not
Right.
designed for boys. A classroom is not really an environment for a boy. Not to say that they couldn't learn, but most boys, not all of them, again, this is a general thing, need more of a physical, it's more experiential. You'll find that you'll retain the attention and engagement with boys if it's something that is more tangible, more physical, where there's sweat equity, where there is a consequence, where there's hierarchy.
Yes.
It's important. Not all men need to be the alpha, the top guy. They just need to know where they are in that pecking order. In the absence of structure, boys become lost, and they need it, and they need to figure it out, often physically.
Yeah.
And so if a young man at this point has never really had that, hasn't had a male role model, doesn't have hobbies that, not just hobbies, but ways to offer value to the world, they're often going to find themselves in this lonely place. They've created their own hole, whether meaning to or not. Actually, not meaning to. Nobody wants that for themselves. They find themselves there, right? Who was the one that said that most men live quiet lives of desperation? Of who was that? I can't remember his name. What it was a poet. I can't remember his name now. But it's true, because the society has pushed a lot of that down, unfortunately. I was very fortunate that I had, number one, parents that are still together. My father was very much involved. My father was my best friend, not because I didn't have any friends, but we spent so much time together that of all my friends and my father, like, I felt like I trusted my father the most. I felt like he had a wisdom that I was constantly learning from. He was always very curious. So he also had a playfulness to him, a curiosity that he tried to instill in me, is like, hey, no. Ask the question, experiment with this. Let's see what this brings. We built our entire weight set in our house. we started lifting, and I'm like, Dad, we got to get a cable crossover machine. I don't know if you know what that is, but like the two towers.
Mm.
And number one, they're super expensive. And my dad's like, we're going to build it. I'm like, we're going to build it again? That means a lot of work for me. But at the time, I didn't appreciate it. Later on in life, I'm like, shoot, that was amazing. And everybody that came to our house was like, this is amazing. I can't believe you have a cable crossover machine and you guys made it. Like, that's so unfathomable for most people. So I was very fortunate. I understand that everybody is. So going back to the original question is, what do you do? If you're a young man that you find yourself, you need to take an audit and examine your life and say, okay, wait, what are the skills that I'm missing? I can guarantee you, if you're in that boat, you're not framing things and how can I add more value to other people? If you are and you're serving others, I guarantee you're not going to be lonely. It's
100%.
probably that simple.
It's the best answer I could have asked for. Thank you. I really appreciate your insight.
Yeah.
But thank you.
It's really true. Yeah.
Armando,
Men are-
we've kept you long enough. We've gone over time, I think, with
Oh, yeah.
asking you that question. I appreciate that. Thank you
No,
so much
awesome.
for
Well-
joining us today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Armando. It's been good to see you, and we'll see you again soon, okay? We'll get
Hold
together.
on. I don't. We need something here.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Thanks
I've been
so
looking at my
much,
glasses all
Armando.
this time.
I know the whole time we should have. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah. It was a pleasure,
Thanks,
Joey.
Armando.
Thank you, Dan.
We'll see you later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Cheers.
What a great guy, huh?
Another great guest, Dan. You get the best gets. You get good gets.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I know all these guys through these different channels, and it's interesting when you have this kind of conversation with them, kind of all like kind of in a structure like this. It's interesting how there's like this common theme of who they all are and how they all operate, and I'm very proud of it, frankly. Like they're like
Say
all
more.
really
Say
good
more on
dudes.
that. Say more on that. The theme is good dudes.
Yeah, but yeah, they're all doing their different things and they all have their different perspectives. But I think he really hit it on the head. Like, think that the men, or at least the guys I know, I guess, or the people that I connect with lots of times, I think there's like an inherent, like programmed, like for however it comes about, to like want to be helpful to people, right? So like maybe that's the entrepreneurship part of it, because in order to be an entrepreneur, you kind of are by like definition trying to be helpful to someone or the market or however you want to say it. And so maybe that's just kind of comes with the territory. Although I'm sure there's probably a lot of like jerk entrepreneurs out there. That's
I
probably
agree.
for sure.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
I was
that
just
sounds
about
like-
to yes and you. Yes, and I also think you surround yourself with good people. I'm certain you meet people and you're like, doesn't need to be in my circle.
Yeah, that's true. There are people that I do meet like that are entrepreneurial, that are in business, and it just doesn't work. In fact, sometimes I wonder too if like the category of person is like dictates what type of business they're in or how their business. I mean, it does, right? A business's culture comes down from the top. So if the person at the top operates in a particular way, then their entire culture of their company operates in the same way. And
Right.
you've probably seen that in theater shows, right? We used to see that
Oh, yes.
in the theater all the time. If we get a producer who was a genuinely nice person, their entire team would be genuinely nice. If you had a guy in the jerk, their entire team would be a jerk. It was like clockwork. It was like that.
It's fascinating. I've seen shows where the story, everything about it had everything going for it. And then you see the show and it's abysmal. And
Yeah.
usually you can say, well, they probably had a bad producer or the director
Yep.
was a meanie or something. It just, when you foster an environment of tension, no one can do their best work.
Exactly. And that person's probably looks the same as that little microcosm within the theater. Their real world life probably feels the same way all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a lot of control. People forget how much control we have over our circumstances and the way we experience the world. I think sometimes people lots of times people have that kind of external, what is it called? The external locus of control versus the internal. Lots of people have an external perspective, like that it's all happening to them. When in my, I try to be as much as possible internal. Like, how is this me? Like, this whole manifestation of everything that's happening out in the world is actually coming from me. There's all these outside circumstances that are like flying by, but at the end of the day, my reaction to them, my, dealing with whatever situations are coming up, I'm making all those little micro decisions all the time. So I like to look at it like I have total control over, what's happening. So,
Excellently
which
put.
then I'll, so anyway.
Do you want to do one more round of looking at our algorithms?
Yeah,
Let's see what
let's
in the
see.
last hour has changed for us. I'll go first this
Let's
time. Let's see. I'll tell you the first 5 things. Let's see here. Someone talking about that they're currently single and think they're going to be single forever. So what do you think I have been thinking about?
Yeah.
An advertisement for a really special French bag. A woman talking about how she hates that someone at her work does meal prep and likes to talk about the meal prep.
Okay.
Again, somebody talking about they're on their 5th watch of Heated Rivalry. Have you watched Heated Rivalry yet? Damn!
No, but now that I know what it is, it's probably like the thing, like what's the thing about like the blue Volkswagen Beetle? Like once you see,
And you see all the,
start thinking, you start seeing all the other blue Volkswagen Beetles. It must be like that because now I am seeing it places, but apparently before I was just rushing
you were
by.
blissfully oblivious, and then you will watch this show and your life will be changed.
I have not watched it yet. We're
Tell me
still
your
working.
algorithm.
Oh yes, I owe you. Okay, here we go.
Give me
So
5. Give me 5.
I've got a new Budweiser ad and somebody's thoughts about it.
Terrific.
I've got a strategic sciences. It's a special. I get a lot of gun stuff. So apparently I click on a lot of gun things because it's like a quick little thing you can click on. So suppressor, a robot, like one of the, the dog ones, the Boston Dynamic ones.
Mhm.
Stand-up comedy girl who I don't know who she is, but she looks funny on this picture. And then my 5th thing is it looks like a movie trailer. Oh yeah, for that movie. I want to see that. Good luck, have fun, don't die.
Who is in this?
I want
Anybody we know?
it's Sam Rockwell,
I love Sam Rockwell.
who I love. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And it's very Sam Rockwell-y. Look up the trailer when we're
Okay.
done here. And you'll get it. It's like, and it's time travel and stuff. And so, which of course I love time travel, sci-fi, like it's my favorite genre. So February 13th.
Interesting that no politics came up in either of our feeds this time around.
No, that did not that time.
Which
Maybe because
I'm a
we're
little
not.
shocked. Well, yes. I find the news depletes me, so I do try to,
Well,
be aware and train my algorithm that it's not what I want it to be inundated with.
Yeah, and it's kind of it gets a little boring because everyone's talking about the same thing, whatever the big thing is right now, and it's probably just like politically, our algorithms are the same, just kind of maybe talking from the 2 different perspectives, but they're talking about the same thing. So it's like super
Yes.
boring.
Yeah.
No one's really learning anything from talking about the same thing over and over again. Cool.
Damn, this was a good one. I really enjoyed this.
This was fun. Yes, thank you for hosting with me and being online and staying warm and out of the cold for a little. I know
Well, I
you want to
actually
get
have
out there.
windows open right now because it's either the Arctic or the Sahara in my apartment. So this morning is Sahara.
I love radiator heat. And I'm not exaggerating.
Oh,
It's my
3 war
favorite.
buildings.
It's my favorite. It's so cozy that you can open the windows when it's cold out. Awesome.
Thanks, friend.
All right. I'll see you soon. Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.